Hi, welcome to Avoiding Panic using Python Automation. I'm Doug Green, the GIS manager of the city of Meridian, Idaho.
And I'm Tom Miller. I'm the GIS analyst here at the city of Meridian, which is located just west of the city of Boise in Treasure Valley, in Idaho. We've been experiencing a lot of growth in the past few decades, going from a population of approximately 15,000 in the year 1990 to 120,000 as of the 2020 census.
Yeah, and with the kind of growth we've seen, as well as the increased demand for GIS services, we've wanted to provide more, but city budgets need balanced and firemen save lives, so we've been asked to run lean and do what we can with limited resources. Our city depends on GIS data that's maintained at the county level, and we also coordinate with the city of Boise and other local agencies to exchange addresses and other data. We also have maintenance tasks that need performed after hours. Our users and business processes need consistency, and we currently only have 2 GIS staff in IT and 2 in public works. We haven't added GIS staff since 2012. So at the city of Meridian, we wouldn't be able to provide the level of service our current users enjoy without some automation. Also, we've been able to take vacations and get sick once in a while without having to work remotely while we're out of the office to keep all of our data flow processes running. Another helpful thing about Python scripts is that they document the work to be done in such perfect detail that if something does go wrong, we can pretty much use the script as a checklist to perform the tasks manually if needed. On that note, there are things that go wrong. A script will fail occasionally due to environmental factors or input changes. Someone will change the location of a file or rename a feature class, forgetting that it's part of a process. We've gotten to a place where our scripts even help us know when those situations occur by sending an email or submitting a ticket to alert us. This means we no longer have to spend time checking logs daily. We can get an alert when something goes wrong and then go to the logs for the further detail. Now, I feel like it would be helpful to share some of the questions we've asked ourselves to identify if something could be automated. First, do users or systems depend on a process running on a scheduled date and time? People, we've noticed, really like to be able to say, hey, I know the parcels are going to be updated at this date or on this Wednesday of the month or something like that. So those are good opportunities. Another great question is it repetitive? Am I running the same exact chain of geoprocessing tools or a single tool on multiple feature classes or features? These repetitive tasks are great opportunities for automation. Speaking of chaining together geoprocessing tools, if it's something that requires a very elaborate set of detailed steps and it's going to need to be done daily, weekly, or monthly, we could create a model and run it manually, but if we can model it, we probably can almost completely automate it and not have to run the model manually. Next question, am I just shuffling data from one location to another or transforming it into another format? This is a great one. These tasks don't need a human involved. We can do that through scripting. Last question. This is a deal or no deal question, by the way. Are all of the inputs in a consistent digital format? If it requires inconsistent handling of different text or file formats from different locations or extracted from emails maybe, possibly full automation isn't possible. But this leads to another question. Are there other processes that could be changed to deliver the inputs in a consistent way, thereby enabling this automation? Hopefully those questions help you if you're not using automation. For those of you who are, what questions did we miss? What other opportunities could we identify for automation? So with that, Tom's going to describe a small set of our scripts to let you see some of the specific ways these have helped us.
I'd like to share a few specific examples of where we're using our Python. We have dozens of scripts that run nightly, weekly, monthly, and even on demand. We felt these examples would be issues that are common amongst those at the conference this year. First, our Python code is written and debugged using VS Code. It is then kept in a source control repository where we keep a record of changes and saved in a common location that our server can access. Talk about is how we share our data with Digline. We have a need to send Digline our utility information once a month the areas that we have utility information in. That way they can notify our locate team of requests that come in for areas that we need to go out and spray and locate. With Python, we're able to send Digline once a month a zip file of a 50-foot buffer around all of the utilities that we're responsible for locating, and we're able to get an email that it was sent successfully. The reason this is important and helps us here is that we don't get charged for tickets that we don't have utilities in the area. So we're only going to be notified of areas where we know for sure we have utilities and we're responsible for locating. And it just reduces the time researching tickets that weren't in our area. We also share our address data and parks, center lines, some utility information with our ArcGIS hub available to the public to download. And we also contribute to the Esri Community Maps program. Shout out to Esri for sending out the shirts and the pins and the map books for contributing. They do have a specific schema that we need to convert our data to. And with Python, it takes away all that repetitiveness of the data conversion of having to get it into the Esri format. We set it up one time in Python and it gets sent once a month to the community program, or even with the ArcGIS hub data, we send it out nightly. This reduces the number of records requests we get because now we can point the public and developers and engineers to our hub site when they need certain utility information, and we know that data is current because we're updating it nightly via Python. Here at the city, we maintain 2 enterprise geodatabases. We have a edit and a read-only database, and we need to keep these 2 in sync. So without having to kick people out of the system, without having to worry about locks, we can reconcile, post, and compress our version data after hours using Python. We don't have to have staff come in early or stay late to make sure there's no locks and be doing all this stuff manually. We know Python is going to go in there and consistently keep those 2 databases in sync and do all that reconciling and posting. That way we're not losing any data and no one's getting kicked out of our databases. The sync process helps us keep our performance up. It allows the editors to work in one database and the map viewers to work in another, and they're not clashing at all. We do some complex analysis here at the city. We have a specific model that's approximately 12 models long, and it needs to be run in succession. So with Python, we're able to tell it, hey, kick off this model, and once it's successful and we have no errors reported, kick off the second one. And if there's no errors reported there, we just continue down the line. If at any point there is an error kicked and it's a critical one, we have Python tell us, hey, stop the script and report a log, and it'll even send us a ticket to our ticket system and say, hey, you need to go check this log. The model didn't run. Here's what could possibly be wrong. The consistency that we have here is great with Python because we don't have to worry about human error and making sure we're getting the right models kicked off or we're missing a step here and there, because it is critical. It's actually a model that allows our city council to view a parcel's suitability for development. So it takes in a ton of factors that we have, such as location to utilities, walkability, drivability, distance to can our fire department get there? Can our police department get there in time? It takes all these factors into account and models it up, runs it nightly, sent off to our map viewing database. City council knows it's accurate because it's being run nightly. So we send data out, but we also get data from other sources. And I know there are those out there who are still manually typing in a login and a password to an FTP, downloading data from a zip file, storing an archive, making sure it's in their correct format, and they're having to do this all manually. With Python, we're able to do all of this nightly, come in the next morning, and our data is up to date. Again, we get emails when things go wrong. We get logs when things go wrong. Our stakeholders and our staff here at the city know that our data is the most current data it can be from the source, such as in our case, the county we get some of our data from, because it's being run automatically, and there's not, if somebody's out sick or somebody leaves the city, we know that they're not taking the password and login with them, or they're not taking this process with them. It's stored all there in the Python. And with those few brief examples, I'm going to now kick it off to Doug, who's going to do an in-depth review of one of our Python scripts here at the city. Thanks.
Environment in which we write our Python scripts and the benefits of that help write them and make life a little easier for you when you're doing it. The most basic way you can do it is you can write scripts in ArcGIS Pro Python window. You could write them in the Python idle window, but This is Visual Studio Code. It's an integrated development environment, an IDE. It's a free application. There are others out there, such as PyCharm and yeah, others. But what they give you is automatic code completion, where you can start typing and it will suggest chunks of code that it might think that you're trying to type next based on the few characters you've written so far. It helps you know which parameters you'll need to write. Very helpful with code. It also gives you the ability to debug. Debugging is where you can set a breakpoint on a certain line of code that you want the execution of the code to stop and wait for a minute. And while it's doing that, you can hover over variables and you can see what values are inside them. This is very helpful and speeds up code writing quite a bit. Just to give you a brief rundown of this particular script and the things that are helpful about it. Up at the top, we declare the modules that we want to import. ArcPy is very important since we're doing geoprocessing here. We also have logging. Makes it very helpful to go back and troubleshoot scripts when they have problems if we log things to a file, and we can look that up later. I also have an email library in here so that we can send alerts. So the beginning here is really just setting up some logging. When you start to look through logs, especially logs where you're appending logs to the same file over time so that you can look through and see a history if you need to, it's very helpful to be able to find the beginning of the most recent run. And so this is just a header that helps us find each individual run of the script. But then we set up some variables, paths to our data set workspace environment variables and things like that. This particular script is for a data cleanup process, or a shuffling process. We have a tool that's run in ArcGIS Pro that each time they run it, it's going to export a feature class to this file geodatabase. And it's a fail-safe for them. If there was an error running that tool, it's going to save whatever they had in their working set to this file geodatabase. And if there was an error and something got deleted by accident, we can go and pull them back out of there and they don't have to redo work. But if you can think about that, if they're running the tool many times a day and it's creating a feature class each time, that's going to get to be a huge list of feature classes over time. So at the end of each day, we loop through each feature class in the file geodatabase, indicating whether it was an edit or an add, like a new features, or if it was changes to features. And then we append it to one of two master feature classes, and then we delete that out of the database. So we're performing the same steps on each feature class that's listed in the database. They're regular geoprocessing tools like you would use in desktop software: add field, calculate field, append, delete. This here is a try block. Telling your computer to do when it runs the code is that we're going to try to execute each of these steps, and if we encounter a problem along the way, the code is going to now jump to the accept portion of the block, where we can log the particular error that happened and note that an error has happened. This is going to be helpful later. I'll show you at the end of the script. We're going to use that to determine if we can need to send an email or not. Another thing this script does is when you're doing a lot of data operations in a file geodatabase over time, it will start to perform very slowly and it gets fragmented. So the compact tool will clean all that up and keep things performing well. So we just do that at the end of the script each day. Then here at the end, like I indicated, we're going to check if there were any errors, and if so, we are going to send an email to our help desk system, which creates a ticket. And that way, if I'm not here and I don't happen to get the email, it's just going into the ticketing system, and if Tom's here or somebody else, somebody's going to see that there was a problem and inform the users that are affected by that. So those are just some of the things that we've implemented that really help not be running blind when some of our work is being done for us in the background through automation. We're still aware of things that happen. It makes it very nice for us to be able to still feel in touch with those operations and processes. You've debugged it and it's running great without errors. Now you want to schedule it to be run without you clicking a button. It'll just do it all on its own on a schedule. The first thing that gave us trouble was figuring out that there's certain needs of the user that's going to execute the task. The user needs to be able to access all of the GIS data that your script is going to interact with. It also needs to access the script. So get with your IT department and have them set up a user that can complete these tasks. It also needs to have a password that doesn't change. It's very frustrating to have a script that's scheduled to be run and you go and look and it just says it couldn't start. And it's because the password has expired. The next thing is there's certain Windows permissions that this user needs in order to just execute the task while the computer is not logged in. The log on as batch job and log on as service permissions will allow this user to be able to complete these tasks without you being involved after hours. A user that's all set up to do it, you're going to actually create the task. So what we use is just built into Windows. There are other options out there that may have additional features. We've been running just fine with just Task Scheduler is what it's called. You click on Start and start searching for Schedule and it'll pop up there. Our first gotcha was to make sure and set the option to run whether user is logged in or not. That's very important. If that's not set, it will not run once you log out of the machine that you're using to schedule this on. That's probably another note. You can schedule these on your own machine. Updates and other things may prevent them from running. You may also turn your machine off sometimes when you leave work. We have been given access to a automation server, just a server that we can use to perform these tasks. And it has ArcGIS installed, whether ArcMap or ArcGIS Pro. Task Scheduler is the same thing that's used when you go into ArcGIS Pro and schedule a task to be run later. It's in the background creating one of these tasks for you. That's all it's doing. The one that you'll want to use is on a schedule. You can use other triggers such as like on startup, things like that, but for the type of work we're doing, you're probably just going to use on a schedule. And you can set all kinds of variable things, on the first Wednesday or every night, once a month, all kinds of things. The next, the action to be performed, what do you want this task to do? Well, what we want it to do is run Python. That's what we're running. And Python will be executing your script. So in the action window when you're setting it up, you're going to point it to whatever version of Python you're using, whether it's the Python 2.7 if you're doing ArcMap stuff, or if you're using one of the virtual environments included with Pro. There's explanations on how to find that environment on Esri's documentation. You're going to specify the program to run as Python, and then you're going to provide a path to your script file as the argument. And an important note with all of the scripts actually, and the path to your script, it needs to be what's called a UNC path. And what this is basically your network name and then folder structure to the file itself. This is because when the computer is not logged on or the user is not logged in, all of your mapped drives, G, H, whatever you normally use, they don't exist. So if your script or the path to it is referenced by H:\/ whatever, it's not going to know where that is and it's going to fail. So if you use a universal name convention, the task will be able to reach your script and the script will be able to reach all of your data. You can ask your IT folks for help knowing what that UNC path is and they'll be able to help you get fixed up.
Thank you for watching Avoiding Panic Using Python Automation. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Doug or myself. We look forward to any questions you might have in the Q&A. Thank you.
I'm the city manager of the Meridian, where we have Laughing Tom.
GIS man. Professional. I'm at work. Okay.
Hi, welcome to Avoiding Panic Using Python Automation. I'm Doug Green, the city manager of Meridian, Idaho.